Yeah, we talked a lot about the ecosystem, and I wanted to start the conference with you, and I'm very honored to have you, because of all the people I met, first of all, you're in the business for how long?
20 years.
20 years in the
More.
business?
Yeah.
Exactly.
22.
Almost exactly like me, but longer. And you have been on both sides. You have been an entrepreneur. ICQ is what made you famous in the early days. But then, against all odds, and you also became an amazing investor with Dotomi and many others. So I would like to start the one question, which is also the reason why we do the conference. What can you recommend Israeli startups to do or not to do in order to gain scale?
So actually, I'm going to speak with my experience, which I didn't do it in some of the first companies, and I ended up doing it at least in the last one and before one. Is look on the target market, and assuming you are targeting, like most Israelis, mainly the US currently, move to the US sooner rather than later. What I've seen many companies doing in terms of mistakes, they go and don't raise enough money because they're cheap. They don't have enough money to move to the US or to the darker market. They don't know the market. They move and they realize, Israel is actually slightly different than the US. The people over here think differently. The market is different. We need to change the product. And at the end of the day, they think they save money by not doing it, but actually they are losing a lot of time and a lot of money.
So think about internationalization, US, maybe also...
Or Europe, whatever.
Or Europe.
But the moment you go and decide, whatever your target market, open a local office, move over there.
I had a very long discussion with Yossi Vadi about Europe versus the US, because the European market is 320 million, the US is 250, so I was like, why are they always going to the US, leave their families, it takes a long time to go back. And then they said, yeah, but Europe is not really one market, it's 8 markets, 8 big countries.
But that's why, by the way, that is actually very interesting because, which is, again, also if I look at myself, most of my companies or most of the companies in Israel actually go to the US, but if you think about it, it's a huge mistake. We should go to Europe. I mean, it's a huge market. The fact that they have so many languages and cultures actually fits the Israelis more. So we have an advantage over there. When we go to the US, there are so many startups over there, so many companies, less advantage. But still, as much as I talk about it, most Israeli companies still go to the US. Hopefully it will change. Hopefully this conference is going to be the...
Maybe they're lemmings.
Yeah.
Well, the one argument which was brought, which I have some sympathy with as a banker, they say, yeah, but in the US, the valuations are much higher. If you want to raise money, it's also a better ecosystem, more advanced than Europe. Silicon Valley has the top global investors. You have Sequoia, Kleiner Perkins, etc. Do you see some, I mean, talking about investors, which is actually my second question, how important investors are for the development of a company versus the bootstrap version of it?
So I look at it, money is important, regardless, but I look on it on, it very much depends on who do you bring as investor. I can talk of my experience. I don't want to use the word, not so good investors, and I had an amazing investors. And you can actually go and see, for the guys who are entrepreneurs over here, or wanting to go entrepreneurs, my advice to you is before you go and speak with other companies they invested in, and ask what do they do on the board. Is the board an update call, like most VCs are doing, which going to be they're not going to get involved, or the board is actually strategic, and the update you can do, prior to the board, and they don't, they come prepared to the board. And if you look on, that's the first one. The other one you have to keep in mind, again, it's a general. It's not like for the Moscow, not for, all the investors. US investors are different than the one in Europe and the one in Israel. The one in Israel, the one in Europe will fight with you. They hate losing. So they're going to fight with you. Usually you're going to end up seeing some of the cases.
They're fighting with you or against you?
No, they're fighting with you, which means they don't want to close the company. I'm not sure it's the right thing or the bad thing in terms of an investor, but if you look on the US investors, they basically realize that, you do 1 of 10 return your fund. They're going to bet very hard on the one which is doing very well, and the other companies in the portfolio that are not doing well, they're going to bet very hard on the one which is doing very well, and the other companies in the portfolio that are not doing well, they're going to bet very hard on the one which is doing very well, and the other companies in the portfolio that are not doing well, they're going to bet very hard on the one which is doing very well, and the other companies in the portfolio that are not doing well, they're going to bet very hard on the one which is doing very well, and the other companies in the portfolio that are not doing well, they're going to bet very hard on the one which is doing very well, and the other companies in the portfolio that are not doing well, they're going to bet very hard on the one which is doing very well, and the other companies in the portfolio that are not doing well, they're going to bet very hard on the one which is doing very well, and the other companies in the portfolio that are not doing well, they're going to bet very hard on the one which is doing very well, and the other companies in the portfolio that are not doing well, they're going to bet very hard on the one which is doing very well, and the other companies in the portfolio that are They will not fight with you. Some of them will remove you completely from their website. You'll disappear from the portfolio if you're not doing well. There are a lot of cases of very famous VCs who joined the boards, and then suddenly the company didn't do well. They disappeared from the board, disappeared from the history of the company. You will not see it in Europe or Israel. These guys will hate to close companies, hate to not get it to a good ending.
So you said, just to summarize, think about your target market, raise rather more than less money.
Yep.
Think about the US early,
Well,
because you want to be there.
you want to be
Don't ignore Europe. And then on the investor side,
be
picky.
pick the person, not the group, not the firm.
And speak to investments they have done before.
Yeah.
What is like the number one mistake you see Israeli companies doing when they go international?
There are two parts. One, they don't move fast enough, so they don't know the market. And the other one, when they move, they think, and it's changing, but a lot of them think we know everything. So you see the management of the Israeli companies, Israelis. Very interesting, and maybe works well, but when you go in marketing, if you go sales, if you do B2B sales, very much depends on the type of the company. What can I tell you? People in the US like to buy from people in the US. People in Europe, most chances like to buy local people. So hire local people. If you look at a lot of the Israeli companies, you will see the top management is not Israeli, is Israelis. And then as they grow up and become really big, suddenly they bring the US guys to be, above the Israelis.
Also too late then.
Yeah.
So early. And this whole sales and marketing thing, has this changed over time? Because I remember 10 years ago, you would get the best management presentation, the slickest slides, the really smartest people on the top, but selling a product was not really something. They thought the product should be so strong that you don't really need a lot of sales and marketing. Has this changed?
It's competition. So it did change. Again, you have the consumer product is different. You have something, and you eat a golden egg. It's the golden egg.
Like the
ICQ. The golden egg. Hey, I invested in so many companies since then. Not a single ICQ. Like that, it doesn't happen. It's all very analytical, and everything is being able to measure and so on. But there's no replacement for face-to-face. It is what it is. Especially when you go in bigger deals, face-to-face.
And in terms of the typical Israeli formula, that once the company has reached a certain size, you keep the R&D, the IT people in Israel, and you move the leadership to the US. Is this a winning formula? What's your view on that? It worked for Waze and lots of other...
It's a winning formula, especially if you have two co-founders and more. When one co-founder stays in Israel and one co-founder moves
they cannot fight
to the
then,
US. No? Otherwise, it's very, very hard. So I've seen companies, I was part of one company that, the moment we moved to the US and the management, the co-founders moved to the US and there was no one in Israel, it slowly collapsed. And let's say the other companies basically took over your employees right away.
So, Yair, let's end with the first question I should have asked. What are you doing now? I think you're working out of New York.
I'm working out of New York, company doing customer loyalty and personalized marketing for the retail industry. Yeah, the retail industry. Still survived, still alive. 88 people, offices in New York, Florida in Israel, R&D in Israel, the typical formula. My co-founder in Israel, I'm over there. And basically trying to get big data analytic AI to the retail.
What I love about Yair is, when I started 20 years ago or so, or even longer, and there was an internet entrepreneur and then the investor, he was usually more worried if the entrepreneur disappears to the beach. Now we know that once you're an entrepreneur, it's in your blood, and you're not going to go to the beach and become like someone like a Robinson Crusoe living from whatever, coconuts. You were an entrepreneur, made money, then you became an investor, made more money, and instead of going to the beach, you said, hey, let's do the whole thing again, and became an entrepreneur again. What drives you?
My wife tells me I'm sick, and she's still looking for the cure.
Okay. Next year we will invite her to join us on stage. Yeah, thank you
you.
so much for opening this with me.